Here's a great project. I just finished a global consulting project with IBM on carbon footprint. It was great. In my interviews, one bank, remains nameless, has 40,000 PCs on 24 by 365. Why? Because the IT department pushes out upgrades and virus patches overnight. They're going to invest in a small piece of software that updates each PC individually, then turns it off. They're going to save $1 million a year for $100,000 investment. That's an IRR of 1,000%. Imagine you could invest $100,000 in the market and it would give you $100,000 back every 36 and a half days from now to eternity. Would you not say that was the best thing since sliced bread? Here's another one. We have escalators in North America that use 2.6 billion kilowatt hours a year. And do you know many of those are running 365 by 24? In fact, it took GM to go bankrupt before they decided to turn off the escalators on evenings and weekends in their head office. Why did it take bankruptcy before common sense began to apply? We could actually save hundreds of millions of dollars a year by just turning them off on evenings and weekends and putting little I-beams in that when nobody's on it, it slows down. Simple solutions. I've worked with Walmart. I've been down to Bentonville, where Walmart has quarterly sustainability meetings. And Lee Scott might have begun their green program. They're spending $500 million on sustainability initiatives for the PR value. However, now that they've got into it, they have become fiscal converts. Because, you know, Walmart has to sell $1 of goods to make 3 cents. They work on 3% net margins. In order to make $500 million extra dollars, they'd have to sell 17 billion of more goods. And Walmart has realized it's far easier to save money than to make it and waste it. And so they've got religion on this. Here's a fun one. The favored vehicle of the taxi industry is the Ford Crown Victoria. Gets 13 miles to the gallon, basically a tank on wheels. And my Prius gets 47 miles to the gallon. If every taxi, if all 200,000 taxis in North America were Priuses, the taxi industry would save $75 billion in fuel between now and 2016. In fact, they could convert all their fleet today to Priuses at zero cost using a lease model. And they could pocket billions of dollars in fuel savings for no cost. Green means green. So the question is for organizations, for policymakers, are we going to invest in sunrise or sunset industries? And this is revenue growth. Germany is focused on solar, so is Japan. We in North America are subsidizing GM and Chrysler. One is an industry of the future, and one is an industry of the past. Obama promised 5 million green-collar jobs. If your organization isn't focused on the future, are you going to be taking part in the green stimulus packages that are occurring in every country around the world? Well, no. This is carbon markets moving to $2 trillion. HSBC, the first bank to ever go carbon neutral, did so because it wants the lion's share of this explosive market. They want to be a leader because the laggards will not even play in this space. And consumers want this too. This is the rapid growth of the LOHAS market, which is lifestyles of health and sustainability. You don't see this kind of growth. This is a really telling one, the bottom. MBAs will take 14,000 less to work for a green company. In the competition for talent to attract the best and brightest in the future, you're going to have to be green because the laggards are going to get those who have the low marks. Finally, how to avoid being blindsided. If you ignore these principles, it's at your own organizational peril. This is Henry Ford in the original Model T, which got a staggering 25 miles to the gallon. We have gone backwards into the future because the average SUV today only gets 17 miles to the gallon, far worse than Henry Ford did 100 years ago. And in fact, when you look at the Hummer, it's 6 miles to the gallon. So if your company ignores these trends, does not align with the values that consumers have, this is what happens. This is GM's stock price, and they went bankrupt this week, we all know. In fact, if you take the value of GM, add it to Ford, add it to Chrysler, Chrysler's private, but you can estimate its value. If you add them all together, you multiply by 10, it's worth less than Toyota. The low-carbon leader, the market knows which way things are moving. In other words, there is a serious liability if your company is not going green. The market knows who will be punished. And so ultimately what we need to do is substitute eye for eye. We need to substitute physical inputs for innovation and creativity. And when we do that, and this is a guy called Edward de Bono, who's one of the world's leading thinkers in creativity. We did a program together over in England. Great fun. But we need to apply these techniques on how we change our organizations. The other book, which you'll all get a CD for, is called Blindsided. It's had numerous honors, been a #1 international bestseller. It's very much like Clayton Christensen's book, which is called The Innovator's Dilemma. Clayton's a great guy. And so just close with what Jim Balsillie, who's the co-CEO of Research in Motion, and I see a number of you have BlackBerries here. He basically says, you know, we're living in a challenging time, and pay attention to this material. Thank you so much.